meet you. We are Team Viewism and we are very honoured to invite you today to our interview.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name's Ashley Cooper and I'm the chairperson of Coventry City Women and Girls Football Club.
What were the initial steps you took in the beginning of this career path?
I'm a volunteer at Coventry City Women and Girls Football Club. There's no paid individuals. We're all volunteers, so we all put our spare time into it. So I have a full-time job. My real job, I'm a chartered surveyor, so that's boring. And my fun stuff in my spare time is being involved in women's football, which I'm very passionate about. I've been involved in football since I was a very small boy. I played football, not particularly very good, but I played football for enjoyment. And then when I got older, I got involved in running teams, doing the administration side. And when I had children, I've got two daughters, both of them wanted to play football, so I encouraged them. And I got involved in another grassroots football team, and they helped me get my coaching badges with the FA, the Football Association here. Off the back of that, my eldest daughter had a trial with Coventry City Women and Girls 5 years ago. She managed to get in because that's a Saturday team that we play for in the junior section on a Saturday mornings. After watching her play, then an opportunity came up to help coach the team. So I came in and helped coach the team. And I suppose with my skills in my business in terms of being well organised, being a project manager, I got asked by the club whether I'd be interested in coming into the administrative side and help running the football club. So 3 years ago, I got asked to become vice chairman of the football club, and I did that for 2 years, and then I started my first year as chairman back in June last year. So I've just been chairman for the last sort of 12 months or so.
Could you also please tell us about your job responsibilities and what do you do daily?
My responsibility as chairperson of the club is basically I'm the strategic lead for the football club. Within my team of executive committee members, we have different roles like treasurer, club secretary, head of the women's section, head of the junior section. We have safeguarding because obviously we're responsible for children. And within that then I sort of lead that team, and within that team we then set up the strategic brief for the football club for the next sort of 5 years. So I've put in together our 5-year business plan to see how far we can push the football club over the next 5 years. So it's my job to make sure that we're on track, hitting all the right goals to make sure we achieve our aspirations in my tenure as chairman. My roles on a day-to-day basis go from meetings with fellow committee members, talking about finances, trying to get sponsorship in, talking to opposition managers, helping coaches with training, making sure that when we have we've got a tournament tomorrow, that we've got a team from America coming to players, some of our junior teams. So I need to make sure that there's the buffet on afterwards and make sure the venue's done. So it's a full mixed bag. Being a volunteer, just because I'm chairperson doesn't mean I just shake the hands of all the great and the good. I have to get involved, get my hands dirty as we call it, making sure the club's well organised and well run with my fellow team members within the exec committee. It's a group effort, but I am the strategic lead effectively. So everything stops with me. It's always my fault if it goes wrong.
Since last year, have you had any unforgettable experiences so far?
Within the football club for Coventry City Women and Girls, I think the women's section has now moved on from where it was a couple of years ago, and obviously I've been involved in that sort of transformation in terms of making sure that we have our first team and then we have a development team. So we've got all the junior teams, when they hit 16 they can obviously then play for the women's section, but it's probably a stage too far to go straight into the first team. So we've got this development team. The first part of the development team last year, I managed that, and I managed that to promotion. So we got promoted, which was a fantastic experience. But also then the first team being in the FA Cup. So the Women's FA Cup, I don't know if you saw that both Tottenham and Manchester United got into the Women's FA Cup final yesterday. Well, Coventry City Women and Girls was in that competition. We didn't get into the later rounds, but we've played. Seeing the club play at that level and at that status is what I want to see. I want to be played down at the CBS Arena where the men's play eventually. That's where this club deserves to be, platform deserves to be on. Personally as well, my daughter's played into that FA Cup last year, which was fantastic. She was 16 at the time. So seeing youngsters come throughout the club is where we want to see. We want local people being proud of their women's football team. So that's a highlight for me at the moment. Obviously, we've got the cup final coming up in a couple of weeks' time, which is a major achievement for the women's section. That's going to be played at the Bestcott Stadium in Walsall, and I think that's going to be a great occasion, and hopefully it will be some silverware that the club can bring home to the people of Coventry.
What strategies are you using to promote and raise awareness of women football?
So I think over the last 4 years, the emergence of the women's game has gone tenfold. The Lionesses for England, that gets a sense of the public being interested in women's football. Traditionally, it's always been the men's game, and the women's game has always been second class. In terms of all football clubs, it was always the men's game was more important. With us being a female-only football club, we have a partnership with Coventry City men's team, which is fantastic, but we have our own autonomy, so we can actually then promote the needs of the women's section within our group. All we're interested in is the women's game. From our perspective, now there's a lot more interest within the women's game. It becomes a lot easier then to try and gauge the interest of the Coventry public, and that's what we're trying to do. Our strategies is we obviously time with the men's team, we have articles within their programme on a match day for their championship matches. We've had a club day recently where the girls got paraded around in front of 30,000 Coventry fans, which was great. Social media, as you know, is such a powerful tool, and this year we've tried to promote our women's section by doing match reports, photos, videos, Twitter, live feeds, and other things, which then just gauge more interest. And then obviously we've got our website. So our website is something that we can update, keep content live and interesting, and just make sure that it's on the forefront of people's mind about the football club and also the women's game itself. Twitter, Facebook is very popular format for us to promote the football club. Not only just the football itself, but remember, Coventry City Women and Girls Football Club has 17 teams. We have everything from our under-9s all the way through to our women's first team. So we've got a wide spectrum of needs and requirements of the female football game, from the very small ones, who we want those to be aspirational to go and play for our women's team in 10, 15 years' time. So that is how we want to promote the women's game within the club itself.
What do you enjoy most about leading the women's football?
Again, being a volunteer and not getting paid for it, you have to enjoy what you do. I enjoy working closely with my exec committee. We're all like-minded people. We all want the same goals. As you know, in any team, there's nothing better than being, individual sport's great, but working as a team, there's no better feeling, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. And having that exec committee team that we all work together to try and achieve the goals that we've set out for ourselves, we want to better the football club. We're one of the biggest football clubs within the West Midlands, female only. We want to try and push the football club both on and off the pitch, especially with the women's section, to try and push them up through the league ranking. I think working as part of a team and having the enjoyment of it, and then they're having the fruits of your labour. Things like the cup final, yes, that's all about the girls and the coaches of that women's section, but behind them is a great team of individuals that try and support them, whether it be through sponsorship, training facilities, equipment, and just giving them the structure to be able to play their football they can do. So for me, that is the biggest enjoyment, is actually seeing the fruits of our labour of trying to push the football club forward.
Following 2 or 3 questions will be about the challenges and achievements. What are the challenges you usually face in your work?
Thinking about Coventry City Women and Girls, one of the greatest things that we have is the badge, because we are tied to Coventry City Men's Football Club. The challenge that we do have is, as we don't share their ground for obvious reasons, because that's a 30,000 capacity stadium, we don't have any of our own infrastructure. So therefore we struggle to generate revenue. You can have all the best volunteers in the world, but if you don't have revenue, you can't invest. So we're very rich in terms of our volunteers assets, but in terms of any of our other assets, we don't make any money on the cafe, because this is not our venue here. This is Coventry City, this is Sky Blues in the community. All the venues that we play at, whether that be here at the PK, or whether it would be down at Coventryans where we host, or Woolston where some of our juniors play, they're not our facilities. We rent them for match days, so we don't have any way to generate the revenue. I think there's a preconception that given that we're Coventry City, we obviously have lots of funding streams. In fact, it's the complete opposite, because we don't get any funds from the men's team. We get goodwill, we get opportunities in the programme and stuff, but we have to generate our own funds. And again, trying to push the women's football now is on an elevator in terms of going forward. If you look at some of the other clubs that we are up against, they have heavily invested the men's teams into that, whereas we're probably struggling behind from it. So that's part of the frustrations, because the perception is that we wouldn't be struggling behind, but we are. So fundraising is the biggest thing. Access to cash, sponsors, to try and push the agenda forward is our biggest challenge.
So what about the biggest achievements you've made in your work?
We're an accredited club with the Football Association. I think the infrastructure that we've put into place is second to none within the whole football environment for the female-only section. We've got this fantastic exec committee. I keep going on about that, but at the end of the day, this club doesn't run without volunteers. Somebody's got to do all the, what I call the dirty work. Somebody's got to make sure that everything runs correctly. That's our biggest achievement to date, to make sure we've got 17 teams. Next year, we're probably going to be going for 19 teams, so we're going to start an under 8 elite team. We've never done that before in the past. And then also we've got our Just Play. We've got our women's section, development and first team. Then we're having ones for people that want to just come and play football. It's not all about winning trophies like behind me. It's all about getting females, footballers at all age groups to come and have fun and play the sport that we all love. So that's the biggest achievement for me.
What is your ultimate goal in the club or the industry?
Within our football club, I suppose the ultimate goal is to push the women's section as high as it can do. Now that would mean WSL. And I think the name of Coventry City needs to have a football club that's within the Championship or within the WSL. But that's going to take a lot of hard work, achievement. And I came up to our biggest challenge, which is funding. Without the funding, you cannot achieve that. I think it's important to grow organically because teams that have thrown money at it in the past can catch a cold and all of a sudden fall drop like a stone. So we need to make sure that every couple of years we are getting promoted, we are getting better. We're putting the infrastructure into place. As we don't have that golden cash cow that's going to give us loads of money, we have to make sure the players that we have are homegrown. So we need to make our junior sections as best as they can be coached the best they are, coached in the same way. So our under 8s are coached the same way as our first team. So when they move up that ladder, they understand the systems that we want to play, how we want to play out from the back, play certain formations. And that is going to give us the best players within this area to make sure that we can compete at the highest level. We want to make sure our best players stay at the football club, not move on to so-called bigger and better teams. I suppose that's the ultimate goal of the football club. But again, let's make sure that we keep working organic. And the most important thing is everybody has fun. There's no point playing the sport that you love if you're not having fun. That is the biggest number one rule at this football club, is to have fun.
So we would like to ask some individual questions.
Sure, please go ahead.
There was the Women World Cup in 2023. So comparing the World Cup before and after, is there big differences in the Coventry women team, like such as sponsorships or like recruiting some players?
There's obviously a lot more interest commercially now. So there's been some great challenges that at the moment, quite rightly, the elite of every country wants to make sure that they are recognised equally to the men. So if you look at the court case in the USA where the women's American football team took their FA to court because they weren't getting the same appearance money and prize money, and they obviously won that to make sure there's parity. But in reality, if you don't get the same commercial deals, it's very difficult to give the same money out. I can see where it's going. The great thing is it's only going one way. With the professional women's game, the players are getting better. They coach better. They're getting better opportunities. The professional women don't have to work a second job. They are professionals in their own right. It's a shame that if you look at the WSL now, most of those female players are only on one or 1 year contract. Now, wherever you look at the men's Premier League or even the Championship, most players will be on 2, 3, 4, 5 year contracts. It'll evolve, hopefully, to make sure that there's some longevity, because some footballers will say, well, I've only got a 1 year contract. I might be a lawyer. I'm better off going a career in law because I can secure my future rather than pursuing my dream as a footballer because I can't get the same financial security. All of these women have got to get mortgages, they've got bills to pay. It's a real tricky balance for some of them. So hopefully that'll push forward, and we'll see that in the World Cups. If you look at every single tournament, whether it's the European Championships or the World Cup, the standard of football is far, far better. One thing that we have got to get over is there is some people within the football community that don't believe that the female game deserves to be on the same level as the men's game. And there's lots of high profile things in the moment. There's one ex-footballer at the moment, which I won't mention his name, who's particularly very noisy about female commentators, female footballers shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, which I think is a disgrace, personally. It's like anything. If you don't get a chance to play in the team, how are you going to get better? And it's exactly the same here. Yes, there is a place for the men's game and there's a place for the women's game, but it's getting closer. I really enjoy watching women's football. I would say that because I'm the chairperson of this football club. But genuinely, I can see the skill and I can see the hard work and the determination that these young ladies want to. And now they've got role models. They've got role models that they can aspire to, where they get told back in the day when they're trying to play with the boys, you can't play because you're a girl. You can't play, go away. Now these girls are better than some of the boys that are there, which is great to see. And how long may that continue?
As a male in like a women's football club, have you ever faced any challenges in terms of gender?
Well, no, for me, I never asked to become chairperson of this football club. I got asked. I will not say, oh, I want to be chairman, I want to be chairperson. I got asked because they thought I was the right fit to do and do this job. I took over from a fantastic lady that'd been with this football club for many, many years. And she's now our president, which is fantastic because she's still got some fantastic contacts with the men's football club and, you know, promotes our football club within the higher echelons within Coventry. We are trying to get more and more female coaches within our junior section. There's a big push at the moment where some of the first team and the development team, we want some of those older ladies to come and, because they're the role models for our junior team, to come and coach them. My eldest daughter, who unfortunately had an ACL last year and she's on recovery, she now is a coach for the under 13s. My other daughter, and I've not forced them into this, she's now started playing for the development team. She's 16. She's going to go and help coach the under 8s next year with somebody else as well. There is lots of opportunities for within the club for female. Our goal is that within, let's say, another 4 years' time, that over 50% of all the coaches will be female within the football club, because I think that's really important. Good chunk of my exec committee, I think there's only 3 men and there's like 8 women on there. Proportionally, it is a very diverse committee. But again, I have no airs and graces. I'm a great champion of the female game. Myself being a man, I think it's just a statistic rather than anything else, because I've got the female game at the heart of my passion to try and push it forward within this football club and also beyond. You know, it's not just Coventry City Women and Girls that's going to push the female generation, it's all these other clubs. And it's really good to see. I talk to lots of people within the game, both locally here and other areas, and there's so many men's teams that don't have a women's section that are desperate to have a women's section now. Desperate, because they see that's the way forward. And that, for me, is great. Whereas 6-7 years ago, it was like, oh, we don't want a women's section. It's just a drain on resources. We don't want that. But now they actively want to have that, which is brilliant. Me being a man, I suppose you could say that in a women's club, perhaps it's better if it was had a female leader, but I don't see that's been a problem internally, and it's been received externally quite well.
And you also have many volunteers working with you. How do you try to maintain the satisfaction and try to keep them working with you?
Well, at the end of it, as they're volunteers, it's not their job, so they're not sitting there going, well, why am I doing this? They all want to be here. They've all got the same common goal. They're all elected as well. So our exec committee is all elected at our annual general meeting in June. We put adverts out there for all various different roles, and everybody has to reapply for a role. So it's not just a given that you are going to be in that same position as you were last year. You have to get on with your teammates. You don't always have to agree. But one thing that how I like to lead the football club is it's not my way or no way. There's a number of items that I disagree with my exec committee, but if we vote and the exec committee says no, we want to do that, then that's a democratic position. That's democracy, and that's how the football club needs to run. Sometimes we make decisions which is for the right for the club, but it might not be right for a particular individual or the team, and people just have to learn that we're trying to do it for the right reasons. So there is challenges, but I think everybody who is involved in the football club enjoy what they do because they're a volunteer at the end, and they don't have to do it, they choose to do it, which I think is really important. And that's what's so special about our club, because they're all volunteers and they're all looking at the same direction. And as I said, my job is to make sure that we're heading in that right direction.
So that's all we wanted to ask you today. Thank you for the insightful interview, and we appreciate the opportunity to have such a meaningful time with you, and we hope you felt the same.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.